Yeah.
It's such a big deal. Buying your first home or a move up home, like it really is. It's personal. So to be a part of that process is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah,
it's scary. It's a big investment. You're talking like nowadays. You're talking like almost like $1 million.
Yeah.
600,000, 700,000 just to get in. So. All right, Jennifer Pearce, we are live. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, lots happening in the real estate market.
Yes.
That's why I wanted to have you in here and talk about it. But before we dive into it, let's talk about you. Who's Jennifer Pearce? Why did you decide that you wanted to be the president of TRREB?
Oh.
That's a daunting job.
Yeah. Well, I've been in real estate probably my whole life.
Okay.
Family business. My parents opened an office back in '87.
Yep.
My father was actually involved in organized real estate, and he was president of TRREB back in, I believe, 2000 or 2001.
Okay.
So he served for many, many years on the board. So I've tried to stay involved in organized real estate. It's good. The learning is good to bring it back to the office, to the agents, and to contribute. Okay. So I've always enjoyed that. And then a few years ago, I thought, well, we'll just go to the next level. My son would finish school, so I had a little bit more spare time on my hands and thought I'd just get involved.
Nice.
And it progressed from there. So
yeah, and before we started rolling, you said that you've had your real estate license for almost 25 years. You
Yep.
only look 25. Like, how is that even possible?
I was very young, so
Yeah.
I was licensed in 2000.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's been a long time. I sold full time for a few years, and then I moved into the management part of the brokerage. So
What do you like better? Like in the transaction world, or do you like more like the management and seeing like the?
I really enjoyed selling at that time, but
Yeah.
then also with young family, it was nice to have a more set schedule and spend more time at home.
Okay, perfect.
So I
get you a little
do.
closer there too. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So I enjoy this part too.
Yeah, awesome. So listen, I want to talk to you today about a few different things. I want to touch on like the trends in the real estate market, what we're seeing there. Also the housing affordability, because obviously we know that's a hot topic. And there's a lot of people just feel like they're priced out, and what can we do to get them in? And also just the future of TRREB. Like where do you see things going? And you're obviously in the know. So we'll touch on that. So first, let's touch on like what are we seeing in the market, the trends, what's happening, what keeps you busy, and are we moving in the right direction?
I think we're starting to move in the right direction. Really, I think TRREB's been sounding the alarm on housing supply and affordability for so many years now, and we're finally starting to see a lot of attention at all levels of government. Mm-hmm. So federal government, provincial and municipal, they're all really making it a part of every conversation and looking to put in plans or anything like that to help people and to make things more affordable.
Right. Okay. So we obviously know that recently the news came out that the interest rates, the prime rate came down quarter point.
Yes.
Have you seen anything? Have you heard anything?
Not yet.
And then also maybe even get your own personal thoughts on that as well too.
Sure. So I was looking back just at the interest rates, and we were last June. We moved from 4.5 to 4.75, and then we saw another increase in July up to 5, and then we had many months of stability, which I think has helped just ease everyone's minds and provide a little bit of comfort.
Yep.
So this reduction is certainly a step in the right direction.
Yep.
Hopefully there's more to come, just to provide some relief, some breathing room. It's not just the home buyers that it creates a problem for, while it certainly is a problem, but homeowners, people that are currently in homes, in a variable mortgage. It's put a lot of strain on them.
Yeah.
So, last year, from January to May, we saw the prices just go up a little bit, which is normal in the spring market. But then with the rate increase, we saw them start to decline.
Okay.
Right? And then there was a little bump in the fall, and then they were declining again. So this year, from January to now, the average price has been going up a little bit, but sales are not at the same level as last year.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
Okay. And then what do you see transacting more? Is there a certain type of like detached homes, townhomes, semis, condos? Can you touch on that?
We've seen about a 19% decline in detached and semi-detached homes.
Okay.
And for townhomes and condos, 25% decline. So I think what we're seeing is that the affordability is really more of an issue for first-time buyers.
Okay.
So there really needs to be a lot more attention to providing support and opportunities in that range. Because if we don't have the first-time buyers coming in and buying those homes, we don't have the move-up buyers.
Right.
They're not able to move up into that other property. So it really is.
And what was the condo? You said condos were 25?
Condos and townhomes were on a 25% decline.
Right. But it's because, do you think that they were just too expensive for that first-time home buyer, even though they were like that starter home?
I think that was part of it.
Yeah.
But also just getting into the market it's been hard for a first-time buyer. The move-up buyers have a little bit of equity. Maybe a little bit more stability. So they're already in the market.
Right.
So it's just really hard at the very beginning.
Yeah. Now, are there certain areas in Toronto that you see where there are certain trends where there might be more people moving to just because of affordability? Do you see any of that? Do you pay attention to that?
Well, it's hard to say. I think just with population growth all over that we're seeing an increase in popularity in all areas. Really, it depends on the member for them to look and decide what areas they think are seeing the most growth. I think the 905, just right outside the 416, is really seeing a lot of attention over the last few years, just because the affordability is a bit better. And they've got the double land transfer tax in Toronto, which is a huge problem.
Yeah, that hurts. That hurts the pocket big time.
Yeah.
Now, there's obviously been a change also, too. I guess we'll get maybe like into some policies and some government changes, right? The provincial, municipal level. But one of the big ones was Bill 23, and now they are allowing you to put in, 3 units, 4 units, sometimes even a 5th unit, like if you've got like a laneway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you touch on that and what for anybody who's listening who doesn't understand that?
Yeah. So TREB's really been advocating for the municipal government to allow multiplexes. So real, gentle density, especially around transit areas. So trying to ensure that if there are places where we can build homes or create more livable spaces, that we have those opportunities. So we're seeing a little bit more of that.
Yeah. Okay. So that was a TREB push.
In part, there's lots of lobbying going on by different organizations, but TREB, their advocacy government relations is really, really strong.
Okay.
Spend a lot of time working with different levels of government just to try and help with policy and let them know how things are going in the industry and what we need to help consumers.
Right. Okay. And then, how do realtors, what is TREB doing in that regard, to help the realtors to even understand that? Is there any kind of education on that, or is it just more for the realtors to kind of learn or go to different type of workshops? Are there any workshops that TREB does?
There's lots of postings that go out to the membership and news releases just to let them know what we're doing. My biggest recommendation would be to join a committee. If you and get involved. That's where you really learn the most, and you can really see what's going on and be a part of the change.
So how do they join the committee? What do you mean?
You make an application when it's time. So they'll put out their call for volunteers.
Okay.
And you can apply for some committees. And it's exciting. It's nice to give back, and it really gives you more information. So when you're working with your clients or colleagues, you can really provide a more detailed response.
Yeah, I was talking to a realtor about that. I think he was on the I can't remember which board it was, but he was on one of the boards, and he's like, he was on it for a number of years, and he goes, man, it was one of the best things that I ever did, because as being a realtor, sometimes you don't see all of the operations piece, what happens in the background, the changes that are coming down the pipeline, what's good, what's not good. And so he said it was probably one of the best things that he ever did. And I think that's what you're talking about, right? Just to join that committee and to be involved in what's happening and the challenges that the different cities are facing.
Yeah, and just to be a part of the solution. And the networking opportunities are amazing, locally and provincially, or even across the country. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, to be a part of the solution as opposed to a part of the complaining.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of people will complain and do nothing.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on that we don't see in the background with the advocacy and the lobbying. that you can be a part of.
Right. What other things is TRREB working on right now that you see is good for the market? Because obviously, I know that TRREB obviously helped, like you talked about earlier, in regards to making obviously homes a little bit more affordable. What else are they working on?
From an advocacy point of view, one of the major issues we're seeing is like we talked about, the municipal land transfer tax. So in Toronto, they're double taxed. And right now there is a credit for first-time buyers on that second land transfer tax, but it's based on an average sale price of $400,000, which we haven't seen since 2008.
Right.
So one thing that TRREB's been lobbying for is to have that amount increased to provide a larger rebate for first-time buyers.
Okay, interesting.
So things like that maybe we're not thinking about all the time. Lots of advocacy lobbying. The home buyer program for RRSPs, that's now, there is a proposal, I think it was federal government, to increase that to $60,000
Okay.
so that people can access their RRSPs up to $60,000.
Okay, that'll
for
be
their
good.
down payment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So lots of little things going on that TRREB is trying to work with and support with the government.
Okay. What are the trends you see happening right now in the market? Like, obviously, I'm going to ask this question. This is a question that, it's a crystal ball question. but where do you see things going for the rest of the year? Do you see that? And again, there's no right or wrong answer here. But do you see them lowering the interest rates even more? And then do you see that there's also there's a pent up demand? And what could potentially happen with the prices of homes? Yeah,
I'm cautiously optimistic, I always say. We've just seen our first reduction in interest rate. Do I think there'll be some more? Probably.
Yeah.
At this point, it's only been a week, so it's hard to say. I think everyone's been able to just sigh a little bit of relief that that's come in, and there's hope that there will be a little bit more relief coming. There probably is some pent-up demand of people that are looking. Immigration and just the move, the population and the growth, there is going to be some demand.
Yeah.
And people waiting to see what's going to happen with the market. Again, last May, prices were increasing in the first part of the year, and then they started to dip with the interest rate increase. But now we're going the other way. So it'll be interesting to see how things move for the next few months.
Yeah.
We've got about 2.8 months of inventory. So lots of new listings, right? Our sales are down about 20% year over year, but our new listings are up 20% in the last month, year over year.
Right.
So we're sitting on a fairly healthy amount of inventory, but it could be gobbled up really, really quickly.
So 2.8. So for somebody who's listening who doesn't know what that means, are we in a buyer's market, seller's market, or balanced?
I think we're probably maybe close to balance. I don't know that I would say it's a buyer's market.
Yeah.
Properties that are priced right are still selling quickly. We are still every now and then hearing about multiple offers, even in cases where they're not priced extremely low. There is still some demand out there.
Yeah. Now the condo market though is something different.
Yeah.
We've got a large amount of inventory sitting in there.
Yes.
Right. Now I saw this article, and I don't know how true it is, but I thought I heard 30 months of inventory. I don't know how true that is, but I mean, I know there's a lot of condos that are sitting there, and obviously you've got a lot of, whether they were speculators or potential homeowners, but I think there are a lot of investors actually got caught, purchased these condos, had zero intention on owning it.
Yep.
And now they're sitting with 2, maybe 3 condos, and they're trying to offload these things.
Yeah, so it is concerning, but it's surprising because when you look, especially in Durham, we're seeing all these new developments that are coming up, and people are buying. So there is still a market. There's just a lot of projects across the GTA, and I think a lot of people that purchased, rates were low. They were making decisions based on, very, very low interest rates, and things have changed a lot, and the appetite just isn't there.
Right. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. I want to touch on the affordability. And I mean, we kind of dabbled a little bit into it, but I want to dig a little bit deeper into it because that's obviously a large concern. It's a big concern for a lot of families that are trying to get into the market. They feel like it's unfair. You know, I look at my son, and he's got a good job. He's making decent money, but he can't get in, not without the help of, you know, the bank of mom and dad.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that, and what is TRREB doing in that space to get things, we'll say, moving in the right direction when it comes to affordability?
I guess affordability really goes hand in hand with supply. So it's really about getting more shovels in the ground, getting more properties built, you know, getting rid of the red tape so that developers and people...
That's a big issue, right? The red tape.
It really is. They're all the delays. I think the provincial government is in their new plans. They're looking at removing some of the appeal process so that third parties aren't coming in and slowing things down and making appeals so that we can really get the shovels in the ground. Another big issue that TRREB's dealing with is with new development, 31% of the cost of new homes is development charges. It's huge, and they're passed on to the buyers.
Right. Sorry, when you said, let's step back a little bit. So when you talk about the appeals, you're talking about homeowners that are kind of pushing back, saying, I don't want this in my neighborhood?
I think there's some of that. So a lot of people slowing down the growth and the opportunity for building. Right.
So instead of hearing the appeals, you're saying, look, this is within the guidelines. This is what
and those
is
are
allowed.
Third-party appeals. So those are people that aren't necessarily involved or around, just people slowing things down.
So what do you mean? Like, you're talking about like people in the neighborhood, or you're talking about like government, like people within the municipality?
I think just any third party. I don't know if it would be.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So it's just anybody sticking their nose in there and saying, I don't want this here. And then it slows that whole entire process down.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, because the delays, the costs, everything is just, it's part of the problem. And with population growing as fast as it is, we don't have time for so many delays. We just need to get homes built fast.
Yeah. Now, is TRREB at the table at all when it comes to immigration? Do they have a seat at that table to saying, hey, look, we need to slow this down. We've got too many people coming in. Like, I mean, look, I'm big on immigration. You know, my parents are. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. But does it make sense to slow this down? And does TRREB have any input in that?
I don't think that's a conversation that TRREB's necessarily involved in. We seem to be more focused on the affordability and housing supply, really. So
getting shovels in the ground, essentially. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And then what are they doing there?
What is TRREB doing there? Just lobbying, working with government to try and find solutions. You know, what are the options? What can we do better? Building, you know, multiplexes. They call it gentle density. So low rise or purpose-built rentals close to transit.
Right.
Things like that. You know, infrastructure. What are we doing to make sure the infrastructure is ready so that we can build? Yeah. And do we have adequate public transit so that people can move around?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it definitely is a challenge, and you know, and especially when the interest rates are as high as they are, the builders obviously they've got to look at their cost. What is it going to cost them to put that shovel in the ground? And so they pull back, and then now you've got this train that's slowing down. But we need the housing.
Yes.
And then now you've got this force of, you know, does the interest rates come down another quarter point, and then what does that do? And then do these prices start to drive up? And then so it's like this very difficult situation. Yeah, it's a difficult situation that a lot of families are in. Are you now noticing any type of trends where people are, I don't know if you would gather this stat or not, where people are actually leaving Canada? Because, you know, you obviously heard some talks with that, where it's just like, this is just not affordable. Or is it more that you're seeing them just migrate and move further outside of the Toronto area?
I haven't heard anything specific, but I would suspect a lot are moving just further out of the city. Yeah, there's just a little bit more opportunity. The prices are a little bit easier, but again, you know, public transit, how are they getting back into the city? Do they have employment that allows for them to live outside of the city? Can they work from home? So just things like that.
Yeah, that's always a difficult thing, right? Like, I mean, I remember when I was younger, we lived in Scarborough, and we had a condo. And as our family was growing, like, I wanted to stay in Scarborough, but I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, I grew up in Scarborough too.
Yeah, I couldn't afford it, and then we had to move. We had to move to Whitby because we found a townhouse out there for $160K. Jeez, I wish I could go back. I would have bought like 10,
Yeah.
you know. But we had to move out, and back then, you know, I wasn't Whitby, it was Ajax. But back then, it felt far to get back into work. But I mean, Ajax is, you know, just around the corner now,
Yeah.
really. But that sometimes is what you have to do. You just got to move a little bit further out.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're seeing transportation more widely accessible from Durham region back into the city if necessary.
Right.
So yeah, things have changed.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else that we can maybe touch on when it comes to, like, say, affordability and helping families get in that you're seeing that TRREB's doing, or that maybe new policies coming down the pipeline?
Just thinking about new policies. I know we had Todd McCarthy, the MPP that's actually out in Durham, talked. It's not really about affordability, but looking at a proposal to add a 10-day cooling off period to new construction freehold, which was only previously on condos.
Okay.
They'd like to see that come to freeholds. So a little bit, I don't know if that would make people more comfortable with their new construction purchase. So that's something interesting that's been out there right now.
Yeah.
But really the interest rates, it's just affecting a lot of people. The affordability, the cost of everything has gone up. So we really need to see some relief.
Right. What about purpose-built duplexes or triplexes? Has that ever kind of been brought to the table?
That's definitely something TRREB has been lobbying for. Purpose-built rentals, right? Not everyone is in the home ownership market
Right.
for various reasons. Some don't want to be. Some just aren't in a position to do that. But there needs to be more purpose-built rentals just to relieve the pressure on that market. There has been some relief recently, but there does need to be more of those.
Yeah, for sure. Because not everybody wants home ownership.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Some people they want to rent. They don't want to have to worry about cutting the grass. They don't want to have to worry about the roof or the windows or the furnace or all the other things that come along
Yep.
with that, right?
For some people, home ownership has been great for retirement. And that's the money they're going to use to live a happy retirement. So yeah, they want to cash out and go into a rental.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice would you give somebody if they're listening and they're like, you know, I want to get into home ownership. It's very difficult. Is there any type of advice? I know you're saying that, you know, potentially maybe move a little bit further outside of the city, but is there anything else that they could do?
I would say just know your budget and stay well within it.
Yeah.
You know, with the stress test. So 5 years ago, we thought, well, this is crazy. Why do we have to, be approved at such a high level? But then we saw as the rates climbed back up, it really was important that was in place. But at this point, is it really necessary? I think it's creating a barrier for a lot of people now. But I would say just have a budget and stay within it and try to be maybe more modest. We don't have to start at the 4-bedroom, family home.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you have to start in the condo, and maybe it doesn't have the view that you really wanted. But you just got to get into the market. If that's what's important to you, get in the market.
That's such a good point, right? It's just like, get into the market. I think people think that they've got to get that dream home right away. And one of the things that I'm doing right now on my team as well is helping families get in. We actually have this one class, it's called the Affordability Workshop, where we're just showing people, look, if you buy this home and it's got a separate entrance and it's got a kitchen in the basement, you can rent that out. You can live upstairs. You can, have an income of $1,500 to $2,000 come in and offset that expense. But doesn't mean you're going to live there for the rest of your life.
Right.
You could, but at least you're in the market now. And, 4 or 5 years down the road, you purchase another property, maybe extract some of that equity, rent out the upstairs now, and then you've got another property. Or you can do the same thing. You do that twice or 3 times, and you're in the market.
Yeah, that's really the key. Co-ownership is starting to become a thing now, where people are buying either with family or with a friend, just because they can't do it alone. Yeah. So
co-ownership,
looking
sure.
to someone else who's in that same position that you trust, obviously. But that's an option we're seeing a little bit more of now too.
I guess even too, like renting out rooms as well too. So you buy a home, you can rent out, a room with, like, whether it be friends or roommates.
Yeah.
Right. That'll definitely help as well too. So there's different ways of getting into the market, but
yeah, I think we have to step away from the reality shows about the moving in and its perfection, and thinking that we have to start there.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more fun to start with something and then you turn it into something bigger and better on your own as well.
Right.
So definitely just find a way to get your foot in the door comfortably.
Yeah. Are there any affordability events that you know of that's happening later this year that people should be a part of? I know there was one that just recently happened. I wasn't able to make that one, but I heard it was really good. Have you heard of anything, or
No.
is TREB putting anything on? No.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, just checking to see.
Not a bad idea, though.
I think
there
it's good.
should be more events and, things
Awareness.
out there for awareness and education for people to understand how it works.
Yeah, for
Definitely.
sure. All right, let's talk about the future of TREB and where TREB's going. And I know that there's the MLS system.
Yes.
There's so many different ones out there. Are there any talks of just bringing it all together?
It's the conversation that's been going on, I think, since the beginning of time. Is when can we
Yeah.
get to one MLS in the province?
Yep.
And we've seen a lot of movement in the past year. So about a year ago, we saw Durham amalgamate with several boards out in the east.
Yep.
And it was amazing. We had Durham, Peterborough, Kawartha, Quinte, and Northumberland all come together into one board and bring all the data together, which is also shared with TREB. So with PropTex, which is now the MLS provider, we're seeing a lot more people on this service. So we're getting close to one MLS. We're seeing a lot more collaboration. A lot of relationship building has been going on for the past several years between TREB and other boards across the province and the country.
Okay,
So
it's getting there.
I think we're getting there. Yeah, again,
What is-
cautiously optimistic.
So I'll put you on a spot here. What do you think the timeline is? If you had to, I mean, look, I know these things take time, but do you see it within the next 5 years?
I think it's very possible in the province
Really?
that we could see that. I mean, again, we had Durham and the area come together and bring 5 organizations together. Since then, we've seen, agreeing to come and in partnership, so to speak, I guess, as clients of PropTex to share MLS data. We've seen London and St. Thomas come forward, Ottawa and the 4 surrounding boards, Kingston, Niagara, Lakelands, Guelph, and all sorts of areas. Like it's really starting to come together.
Right.
So it's been very fast moving in the last year.
Okay. What about technology? How is technology changing things within TREB and AI? And that's it's one of those things where you've got to be a part of it.
Yeah. Technology, I think it can be scary, but I think to think that it might replace a realtor, but I think really it's about finding ways to use it to enhance your service for your clients. So TREB has a lot of new programs now that are within the system for the realtors. HoodQ, which lets you go in and look at neighborhood statistics, school districts, things like that, because a lot of people are looking for lifestyle. It's not just about the house itself. There's a certain lifestyle, there's a certain neighborhood that they're looking for. So there's technology there to help you zero in on neighborhoods that way.
Yeah.
An exciting one that's coming soon is called REST BAI, which is visual. So what it does is it takes the photos, and you could say, you see a beautiful white kitchen. It would help you find more properties with that type of kitchen. So
Really?
Yeah, so technology like that lets us search based on things other than just the text in a listing.
Yeah. When you say the text in the listing, okay, so one of the things that I do is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And that's like my personal assistant.
Yep.
And I mean, it writes the listings now for my agents, and it's just such a great tool.
It is. It's a time saver.
Yeah.
It's, in a lot of cases, way more eloquent than maybe we could be.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's certainly it's great for enhancing the work that we do,
Right.
and for serving our customers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think people have to embrace it. It'd be like saying, I'm not going to use the internet, like when it first started. It's just one of those things where it's just going to be a part of our lives. And, yes, it can be a bit scary, but I think the earlier that you embrace it, the more that you will be, just used to it and be comfortable with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And find ways to make it work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What else do you see coming down the pipeline from a technology standpoint that TREB is pushing, or that they're seeing, or that they like?
So we have the SkySlope forms, which has been great so far for the agents. And I think SkySlope offers, which is still in testing, I believe, but that will have to do with the whole open bidding process. So lots more transparency, not just for buyers, but for realtors.
Yeah.
So that technology is in the works right now.
Okay.
Which will really make it a lot more transparent for everyone in the process to see. And it's not only for open bidding, but just as far as the entire process of a property, going on the market, and then there being an offer, and how that works its way through the system,
Right.
the workflow.
Do you find that agents are embracing the open bidding, or not as much as you guys thought?
I haven't heard a lot about it.
Yeah.
I keep saying, tell me if you hear one, but I haven't actually. I know there's been a little bit of it,
Yeah.
but I haven't heard a lot about it.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing or hearing from agents that are part of TREB? Like what like on a day to day, like I'm sure you see and you hear a lot. What are you seeing and what are you hearing?
There's some frustration around professionalism, which is something we're always dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is a matter of making sure that bad actors are held to account. That's, I think, an ongoing frustration.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with education, making sure people understand the rules and what they should and should not be doing.
Are these typically like newer agents or experienced agents, or all?
It's anything.
Yeah.
With the newer agents, sometimes there is a little bit of a learning curve. So education's definitely important, but I think it's ongoing. It's something that we really just have to keep doing, keep making sure the members are informed, educated.
Yeah.
TRESSA was a huge change that we saw at the end of 2023.
Yeah.
So TREB's, been working really, really hard to make sure the members are informed, providing tip sheets and just information on how to stay compliant, how to support your consumers.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a big change, right? And listen, man, as a realtor, sometimes you just want to be that real estate agent, and when all of a sudden these changes start coming down, you push back. Right? You're like, I don't want to learn anything new. I just want to service my clients, right? But from your standpoint, obviously, these changes came in. Good, bad? Is there things that we need to still kind of adjust in there?
I think there's still some adjustments that can be done within it. Again, it's consumer protection legislation.
Right.
It wasn't written by the realtors. It's designed to protect the public and how we should be acting in order to do that. I think it's good. I think a lot of people would say it's different, but it's not that different. If you're just doing the right things and supporting your clients and doing what's best for them, the changes aren't that big for you.
Yeah. Well, I think as realtors, that's your biggest thing, is to protect your client.
Yep.
I mean, you're helping them make the largest purchase of their lives, right?
It's serious. I think perhaps sometimes people forget that that's what we're doing, and it's a lot of money.
Yeah, 100%, right? What are some opportunities that you see coming down the pipeline for agents?
For agents, I think technology, I think AI, there will be some great opportunities just to enhance the services that we provide for our clients.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I can't even imagine what they will be. It's so hard to even guess.
Yeah.
But it's pretty remarkable, the things that are out there right now.
Yeah, for sure. And then just on a personal level, like what's kind of like your day-to-day role, like being the president of TREB, and what does that look like for you?
It changes day to day.
Yeah.
I also run a brokerage, so I'm trying to juggle the both of them there. So it's a lot of scheduling. You have to be very, very organized.
Yeah.
There'll just be different meetings at different times, and whether it's I would attend one with a local MPP or another real estate board. So lots of meetings like that and board meetings. I'm not in the committee work per se, so we have the different chairs of the committees that serve on the board of directors.
Right.
So it depends on the day. It's different every day. It's so much fun.
Right.
It really is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What would you say is the thing that you like the most and the least? I guess we got to be careful of the least.
We'll start with the least. I think trying to wrap my head around all the different government issues that are going on with advocacy, and just trying to make sure I can get all the different levels of government straight, and what levels are responsible for what, and dealing with different levels of organized real estate.
Right.
It's just a lot.
And I guess also too, let me ask this question. So then before you became president and looking from the outside, did you think it was going to be easier to because you're saying that that's the part that you don't like the most about it, or the least, to say, well, why don't we just change this and change that? But then you probably see there's so many moving pieces.
It's so important, which is, I guess, not to say that I like it the least. I just find it the most challenging.
Yeah.
Because it's so important, right? So it kind of weighs on you to make sure that you're getting the information right, to make sure that when it does go out to the public as the spokesperson, that you are relaying that information correctly.
And when you say the challenges, is it just because there's so many different people involved?
So many people and so many different moving pieces within the organization, so many things going on at all times. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, for sure. Like I remember, when I used to work at TD Bank, and I was in IT. And I mean, I know it's not as big as the government, but when you're operating at a large level, and to get all the right coordination and the right people in the room, and to get them all on a call, and just a couple different things that have to happen, and they got to go away and then they got to come back, and then all of a sudden somebody leaves and you got somebody new that comes in, and then they scrap that and the whole thing is done, and you're like, what do you mean? We just spent like 6 months working on this. And I think from the outside, people don't see all those moving pieces all the time, right? And I think it's so important, but it can be so challenging to get it all to work. It's just like this big, huge machine, and you got to make it continue to keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's a huge organization. So really, and there's so many people doing so many important things. You just want to make sure that you're supporting them and making sure that their vision and the things that they're trying to accomplish, that you're putting it out there in the right way.
Yeah, but when it does work,
it's great. It's very, very rewarding.
Yeah.
And the people, I think that would be the best part, is the networking and meeting new people. That's the most
so that was the next
part.
question then. So
yes.
that's meeting people, the networking.
Yeah, and the challenge. It's nice. It's different brain works. People say, like, why do you do this? It's thankless, but it's the brain work is a lot different than in the real estate brokerage business.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy that.
Yeah. How do you turn it off? Do you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at separating different parts, compartmentalizing different parts. Yeah. I don't believe in working and doing things if I don't enjoy it. So it's pretty important to me that I enjoy what I'm doing, if it's going to take time away from my personal life or my family life.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky that I do enjoy my work.
Yeah. Jennifer, listen, I appreciate you coming in and doing this talk with me. If somebody was listening, they're a brand new agent and they're thinking about maybe potentially getting their license, what advice would you give them?
I would say definitely take the courses, get your feet a little bit wet, see how you like it. It's a great industry. Sky's the limit. You can get so much out of a career in real estate. I think it's great. It's been my livelihood and my family's, so it's certainly been good to us, and I think it's a wonderful industry.
I think so as well, too. I went from IT and dealing with servers and mainframes and Ethernet cables to moving into sales. The best advice somebody gave me in the beginning was people rarely remember what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And I think that is a good way when you get into it as a realtor to always make sure that whoever you're talking to, whether it be your client or even if it's your family member, whoever it may be, and you're going to help them in that biggest transaction of their lives, make them feel good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's such a big deal. Buying your first home or a move up home, like it really is, it's personal. So to be a part of that process is pretty exciting.
Yeah. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's a big investment. You're talking like nowadays, you're talking like almost like $1 million.
Yeah.
600,000, 700,000 just to get in. So just be there for them.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Jennifer, if anybody wants to get a hold of you or learn more about what you do, follow you, what's the best way?
You can reach me at president@TRREB.ca or through my office.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.